There we go. Okay, well, welcome. Super excited to see some familiar faces here and probably catch some new folks on the replay. But thanks everybody who registered. Thanks for being interested. Thanks for being willing to show up. So, what are we doing tonight? We're talking about faith, fire, and flow, how to heal and prevent burnout for our faith-fueled and fire-hearted folks that are here joining us and hopefully love alliteration with the word F. So, I know if you are a fire-hearted person, you like efficiency and getting stuff done and getting answers to your questions. So I will prevent you from having to flip through all of the emotional, gooey, just introductory stuff that you normally get at the beginning of a webinar. And I promise this won't be just fluff, and you won't have to flip through this on 2 times speed once you get the recording. So I want this to be tangible, actionable, helpful, and ways that you can really just start applying to your life tonight or tomorrow. So I'm going to share my screen because I do have a presentation. All right. Then going to present. Okay. Somebody give me a thumbs up or just unmute and say, yes, you can see my screen, you can see my slideshow.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all.
Mhm.
Thanks, y'all. So let's just jump right into it. How do we know if we're a fire-hearted human? How do we know if this stuff is for us? Obviously, if you signed up for this, you resonated with some part of it, but I just want to let you know that you're in the right place. So, what does that mean? Like I mentioned earlier, if you get this recording and you want to listen it on 2 times speed and just see, okay, does she actually know what she's talking about? Is she actually going to give me helpful tips that actually I can start implementing? Maybe you're that person that just can skim things. Maybe you don't like to watch YouTube videos where they do that 10-minute introduction, or when you're reading a recipe and they give you like their whole life story and you're like, hey, I'm just here for the recipe. So there's like a quickness and efficiency, like a sharp, fast intellect that you have. But sometimes maybe it's hard to get that high speed brain to actually like slow down and relax. Or maybe you resonate with this one. You are good at getting stuff done. Like really, really good at getting stuff done. Like stop it. No, just let me do it. You're going to mess it up. It's going to take you too long. Just no, just give it to me. Which means you normally end up with a pretty full plate because you're good at saying yes to things. Because you know if you do it, it's going to be done well and it's going to be done quickly. And you don't necessarily know if you can trust anybody else to work at the level that you are used to working. But you love that strong work ethic about yourself, that ability to just get stuff done. There's like this fire of transformation that lives in you that you can put stuff into the world, you can lead, you can decide. But maybe you've noticed that that fire is starting to burn you up or burn up the people around you. Maybe you're turning into a fire-breathing dragon with the people that you love, and that doesn't feel good on the inside. You don't want to choose that work ethic and that determination and that productivity over people. And maybe you're here because if you resonated with the burnout section of this workshop, because you don't actually enjoy resting. Maybe it feels really hard to slow down. Maybe you don't know what that feels like and haven't in a really long time. Maybe you feel guilty if you slow down. Maybe you feel like, okay, I maybe want to rest, but like, how can I do that the most productively? Yeah, Angie, all 5 of those for me. 5 out of 5. That's how we know we're in the right place. We're here, we're fire-hearted people, and that is not a bad thing. It is a beauty, it is a gift. We just don't want to have too much of a good thing where that fire starts to burn us up and the people around us. So that what this workshop is here is to say, how do we keep that spark? How do we keep that fire? But how do we just nurture and shepherd it in a way that keeps us a little more tender and is a little more sustainable over the long term. And don't worry, my answer is not going to be, well, just slow down, just do less. Like, oh my gosh, we can all collectively roll our eyes. We're tired of hearing that to these like driven, determined, make stuff done, make stuff happen, get stuff done kind of people. So, oh, there we go. So, how do we know we have too much fire? How do we know we're taking this good thing and it's starting to overflow? How do we know we have too much of a good thing? When does it start to become an issue? Your body's going to tell you. There's going to reach a point where you can't just ignore it. You can't just push through. You can't just keep working. So this is just a general list. I don't expect you to resonate with all of these, like maybe we did in that identifying our fire list, but just see, have you ever experienced any of these? Acid reflux or indigestion, that fire coming out of your stomach and coming up. Maybe it shows up in your skin, rashes, hives, any sort of redness, just getting flush in the face, or on a more severe end of the spectrum, eczema, psoriasis, diagnosable things like that. Maybe when that fire comes up, it goes to your head and you get migraines, maybe behind the eyes. Maybe it's just burning or red or itchy eyes. Maybe mentally, that ability to produce and do turns into kind of, I can't turn the work mode off. I'm stuck in having to work all the time. And that's not even necessarily the job. That's like, okay, I go work the job, but then I come home and like have to clean the house and like have to do all of these things. There's no just let go and relax. Maybe feeling really competitive or really perfectionistic are another way that this can show up. Or maybe it's more kind of just like judgmental, quick, harsh, critical, just kind of right to anger, right to frustration. You're like, hey, I didn't used to always be like this. My fire didn't always just send me into this like mode immediately. What's up? Maybe it affects your digestion and we have loose, burning stools, any sort of like orange coloring, perhaps. The other side of digestion, maybe you have a really good appetite. Maybe it's fast, and maybe also, oh, how do I move enter the waiting room? Admit. There we go. I think that worked. Maybe it means that you get hangry. You cannot imagine skipping a meal because you are going to start to gnaw off your own arm. Like there is no, oh, I just got sidetracked and got busy and forgot to eat. Like not in your repertoire. Maybe Kayla's like, yeah, maybe I feel a little called out. Maybe spiritually, you're feeling like your connection to God feels rushed or transactional or just another thing on the to-do list. Maybe you've forgotten the reverence and the peace and the space that that relationship can bring you. So maybe that feels hard to access. Maybe that feels like something that's just nothing you'll ever get. You just, other people maybe feel calm and at peace and still when they talk with God and walk with God. And maybe I'm just not meant to do that, is a thought that you've had. And then again, feeling like a fire breathing dragon. This fire and this drive is so great until we snap at our spouse or until we speak harshly to our kids, until we say something that we regret, until we find ourselves choosing work over the people that we love. So don't worry if you checked a lot of these boxes or all of these boxes or even just a couple of these boxes. All hope is not lost. There's a lot that we can do about this. So one more little step before we get into the solutions is just a little bit of understanding, how do we get here? We have this spark, we have this fire, we have this innate like drive. And we said, that's a great thing. That is a gift. That's not something we're trying to squash. We don't want to get rid of our spark. But how do we get to that place where that spark is now a wildfire that is overtaking us and everyone around us? So basically, I've just jumbled this into three categories. How do we end up with too much fire? Wrong fuel, wrong rhythm, or wrong identity. And so when I teach Sacred Seasons, which is my year-long course on holistic health, faith, and fitness, These are kind of the ways that we approach this big picture. How do I keep my spark, but how do I channel it for good and not let it overwhelm me? So I want what we go over today to be a taste of the vibe and curriculum and structure of this year-long course. And at the end, we'll talk more about what does that actually look like? How can it actually transform your life? How do you know if it's the right container for you to step into? But let's dive more deeply into these three buckets first. So, how do we end up with too much fire? One way is wrong fuel. So, maybe you are surviving right now on caffeine to get you going in the morning, a dream, and just raw willpower and grit to get you through the day, and then alcohol to calm you down at night. And it's easy to justify that when you churn out as much productivity and stay as busy and do as much as you do, right? You're like, well, when my day is as packed as it is, I need something to get me going in the morning, and then I need something to turn my mind off at night, right? Maybe it's too much of a fried and oily foods, maybe an over reliance on fermented foods. Fermented foods are great. I'm not saying don't have fermented foods, just don't go too overboard with them. Spicy, pungent, sour foods, a diet that trends overly in these directions could be one of the reasons we see that excess of fire. Processed foods, that's a really big typo. You fire-hearted folks are going to know that and be like, I've already seen it, but processed foods, fake proteins, yeah, gross. Not helping our digestion, not helping our fire. Another one is eating too fast. So you have that hangry, really intense hunger. You're saying, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I want to eat now. And then you just are like shoving food in your face. You are the one that finishes first at the table, could eat in 5 minutes. You're like, did you taste that? Did you chew that? Not really. It's fine, right? Well, sometimes that just intensity and that quick way of eating, not going to be helpful to us. Sometimes we end up this way because we're just taking in too much. Overuse of our sense organs, overstimulated, especially our eyes, especially screens and screens late at night. We all have heard at this point how not great for our health that is, but especially if you have a lot of this fire in you, your eyes and screens, you're just going to be especially susceptible to. That's just how it is. So maybe if you see a little bit of yourself in this list, you're like, okay, yeah, that checks out. I could see how A gets to B. Or maybe you're like, no, these ones don't resonate with me quite so much. Let's keep going. So the second bucket of a way we can kind of cause this imbalance of fire is what I like to call the wrong rhythm. So obviously, doing everything all the time, that is an unsustainable rhythm, but yet for some reason we still try. We still hear about burnout. We still hear about people who said, oh my gosh, I just had to stop and take a break. My body made me stop. But we somehow think like, oh, we're superhuman. We are insusceptible to that. We can do all the things. We're really good at working hard. We are really good at getting stuff done. Those other people, they just don't have what we have. Well, none of us are immune. If you stay long enough on that 100 miles an hour all the time, it will catch up with you. There is no way around it. So maybe that's what led you to this imbalance of fire, this burnout that you might be experiencing. Maybe it's more of a nervous system thing, just living in that like go mode. You really don't know how to toggle to the off switch and go back to that rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system response. Leads right into point number three. You're like, okay, I know in theory, in my head, in between my ears that I need to rest, but I don't really put that into action because when I'm trying to rest, I'm trying to figure out how to rest more productively. I'm trying to be the best at resting. Okay, I am gonna like have a chill night at the house tonight, but I'm also gonna like clean the whole kitchen because that's really not that much. And then like by the time you've done that, then you're also like deep scrubbing the dog bowl and the dog kennel, and you're like, wait, how did I end up here? So not actually getting into that rhythm of work, rest, work, rest. There's never the off time. Maybe this shows up for you in physicality and exercise. Sometimes that drive, that go, that hyper competitiveness, this is where it can show up. Or sometimes it's as simple as where you live in the time of year. Maybe it's summer and you're in the tropics and you work outside in the middle of the day in the heat of the sun. Who knows? That could be a way we end up with this overflow of fire. But I honestly think in my 2 years of working with clients one on one, the most common reason folks end up in this place is wrong identity. And this is where it gets deep, but this is where I want to go because this is where the juicy, good stuff is. So maybe these resonate with you. Maybe they sting a little bit to hear. That's okay. We're all here because we all resonate with some part of this. Maybe there's a deep-seated belief that you're only worthy if you're productive. Maybe your self-worth has somehow gotten tied into your productivity. Maybe that's how you learned you could get love as a young child, was performing in school, was working hard, was doing the most. Maybe there's some fear in you deep down that you are unworthy of God's love and you have to earn it. You have to do more. You have to do more of the right things to feel that love. And maybe this isn't even a thought that you have in your brain, but it's something that you feel, something a layer deeper than that, something more internal than just the thoughts. Maybe we're just a product of our culture and the hustle and the busy has been idolized. If you want to start a business, if you want to be an entrepreneur, prepare to work 60 hours a week, no way around it. Just dive in, just do it. Do you have the grit? Do you have the hustle? David Goggins, stay hard. This is the messaging that we're surrounded with. Or maybe this excess of fire has turned inward and you're kind of burning up yourself. You're your own harshest critic. Maybe there's like negative internal dialogue or this constant having to do more and strive more and accomplish more just to live up to your own expectations, just to live up to that silly little voice inside that's whispering, you're not enough, keep going. What would happen if we rested? People wouldn't love us anymore. We wouldn't be worthy anymore. All these crazy self-limiting beliefs that we come up with. And I call them crazy lovingly. We all have them. We just can't give them any power over us. So this is where a lot of the faith comes in that we'll talk about in a moment. So to recap, how do we end up with too much fire? It's either the wrong fuel, the wrong rhythm, the wrong identity, or some combination thereof. So what do we do about it? Now that we have all this information, and maybe now it feels a little gunky, like sitting with all of this and being like, oh man, I feel a little too called out. Now we get to go to solutions, which our fiery folks love. They're like, tell me what to do. Put me in, coach. I'll do it. I'll do the best job at it. I'm going to get all the gold stars, A+ tomorrow. Let's go. So this might be shocking, but the answer is not more discipline, more routines, more pushing through, or more sacrificing yourself on the altar of productivity. We want to go to what we know, and what we know is doing a lot and doing it well. So it's easy for our mind to go down that pathway. That is a well-worn path. That neural connection is deep and strong. Our brains think the answer, do more. The answer, work harder. The answer, show up more. The answer is not more in this case. But as I promised, it's also not, well, just do less. So let's dive into the nuance of where the answer actually lies. Title of this workshop, Faith, Fire, and Flow. My first answer is faith. And this one might be the hardest to hear because it is a version of doing less. It's basically about doing the right thing instead of doing all the things. So if you're here, you probably have a lot of determination and grit and willpower and discipline. Those are amazing qualities. They all make up this beautiful fiery part of you. But what happens when you take that willpower, which kind of to me feels like a holding and like a gripping and like a forcing? What happens when that loosens and let go and it turns into surrender? It turns into, if I don't do all the things, the world doesn't come crashing down. And that is always true. It is always hard to believe, but it is always true. Because your mind is going to have a lot of justifications of why you have to do this thing. And well, I can't not do that thing. And well, this person relies on me for this thing, and I have to do this thing. But see those things for what they are, justifications. Your mind is coming up with reasons why it thinks it is absolutely true. You have to do all of those things. I 100% know if you didn't do all of those things, the sun would come up tomorrow. The world would keep going. And it's really hard to let go of the control and let go of the gripping and the forcing. But y'all, the place of surrender is beautiful. It is a breath of fresh air. It is a deep exhale. It's sitting back and knowing that you're held and knowing no matter what, you're going to be okay. Like, no matter what, you are going to be okay. Let that be the guiding belief. Let that be what's written on your heart, not I have to do more. And this like self-optimization, I see this in our fire-hearted folks a lot, like constant self-improvement, constant, I'm going to take this personality test and I'm going to learn this tool and I'm going to go to this training and I'm going to take, this class and I'm going to go see this other therapist. When we can steward our gifts and know that we are perfect and loved and whole because we are created by the creator of the universe who loves us, oh man, that's a breath. That's a moment. That's a chance to say, you don't have to be the divine. We are humans. We are imperfect. That divine spirit lives in us, but we're not expected to be the level of all powerful, all knowing, all present. Like, we're humans. Let's steward the gifts that God did give us. Let's steward this flame and this work ethic and this determination and this ability to show up over and over and over again. And let that be enough. And that's hard because there's always something else that feels really exciting on the other side of striving. There's always something that feels really compelling. Well, if I could just fix this about myself. Is that loving yourself, though? Is that the way that God loves you? He loves you exactly as you are right now in this moment perfectly. That's beautiful. And that is such a gift. So the way we can love God is stewarding the gifts that we've been given, living a life that is giving honor and glory to those gifts. This grit, this determination, this ability to hang on fumes and coffee and 4 hours of sleep and a deadline, it's exhausting. What about grace? This is what God gives us. We can give it to ourselves too. We can give it to our friends too. We can give it to the people that cut us off in traffic. We can give it to the people that we work with that it's easy for us to judge as not working hard enough or as much as us. It can feel so scary to let go of the doing and the forcing and the making. But to surrender with grace, to steward your gifts, that's just like a much more open-hearted posture. There's so much more ease to interacting with existing that way. Oh, it says behind the chat. Let me check the chat. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know, Carol. So, if this feels like a big, scary leap, if all of this is like, okay, I can understand this between my ears, but how do I do it? Give me the list. Give me the thing. Give me the check boxes I can tick. The simplest way to start is to have little micro moments of devotion throughout the day. So, pauses in between tasks, not rushing to the next thing, taking just a moment, checking in. There a way I can show myself a little more grace right now. The way I can steward these gifts instead of feeling like I have to perfect myself right now. Is there a way I can surrender to God's vision for this day over my own force and control and effort? Maybe it's prayer, maybe it's song, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's a walk outside. Everyone's going to express devotion in their own way. But it's just like a really quick way to switch your mind from that like work, 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 do, into this just softer, receptive space, this reverent, devotional space. Because the longer we're in this work, work, work mindset, the easier it is to just stay there. This might feel hard at first, but just give it a try. All right, a little more practical now, since I hit you with the hard stuff first. How do we, when we have an excess of fire element in our body, what are some things that help us cool and calm and relax that fire? From holistic health, diet standpoint, energetically cooling foods include mint, cilantro, coconut, cucumber, fennel, aloe vera, any of our bitter greens, kale, collard, beet greens. These are your friends. Live it up. What we don't need more of, or what we talked about before, spicy food, fried food, super acidic, pungent, sour, the alcohol and the caffeine, it makes a big difference. Aside from food choices, some ways that we can just really help steward this fire in a way that it works for us but doesn't overflow. Instead of sunbathing, try just sitting out on the porch in the moonlight at night. Instead of just really hot, scorching baths and showers where you come out looking like a cooked lobster afterwards, can the water be a little cooler? In summertime, we are so lucky to have rivers and creeks and streams and lakes around. Get in some cool mountain water. Uh, maybe the steam will come off. You'll sizzle. You'll be so hot when you get in. Even the colors of clothing we wear, blues and purples and greens, these cool, more watery colors. What do we not need more of? More of the same. We don't need to work late at night. We don't need to work while we're eating, especially eating quickly. I don't know why it takes me so long to open the chat. There we go. Three favorite colors. Oh, good. Lean into that. All right. Here's another hard truth to steward this fire. The answer isn't just do less, just slow down. The answer is you have to rest as hard as you work. Whatever intensity you bring your productivity and determination, that is the intensity that you should seek to rest. This works for us because we're good at intensity and we're good at hard and we're good at dialing it up to 11. So take that part of your brain that's good at that and apply it to your rest. Because just saying, okay, I'll like have an hour here, or I will take a massage, or I'll just like, do a little something. You'll try to like dip your toe into rest to say that you're doing it. Doesn't work. We're really bad at holding those boundaries because given time and space, we want to do something else. And it's not enough. So you don't have to just say, just slow down, just do less. If you love the intensity and the pace that you keep, that is awesome. Okay, I'm gonna let Carol back in. You just have to know that you have to rest that hard. And resting is not gonna feel great. It's gonna feel really challenging, especially for your nervous system if it's not accustomed to it. It is a skill. And just like any other skill, it's gonna get easier with practice. So if it feels uncomfortable to rest, if you feel guilty, if you don't like it, if it makes you anxious, that is okay. Practice the skill until it's so easy for you to flip the switch. You know, when you're in work mode, it's easy to flip it, just pendulum swing all the way to the other side into rest mode. So practically, how I'd recommend starting doing this is what are the things that you already know can get your nervous system relaxed? Is it snuggling on the couch with a loved one? Is it getting massage or body work? Your husband has the rest skill down pat. He probably has more earth element in him, but you can lean on him for that, you know? What is the thing that just like makes you take that deep exhale? Is it sitting on the porch with a good book, hot cup of tea? And maybe it's not a thing that you've been able to do in a while. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, I used to do that thing and it used to just immediately dial me down. Maybe you don't know what that thing is. That's okay. But if you have anything in your arsenal that already gives you that feeling, start there. Just get that feeling more reps in your brain of knowing what it feels like to actually turn off the work. And it might take a little bit of your willpower at first. It might take strong boundaries around the laptop gets closed at 7:30 and I don't open it again till the next day. Or I turn off notifications for my work emails or asking for accountability from someone that you live with. There's a whole bunch of ways you can do it in the beginning if it feels hard. Give yourself a system that's going to set you up for success that doesn't just require you on your own to be motivated every day to do it. Okay, I gotta hustle. There's so much more good stuff to talk about. Another really simple way that maybe you can start to train your nervous system, get some reps in. Inhale, speak internally, I receive peace. Exhale, speaking internally or out loud, I release striving. If you're feeling really just like hot and fiery and overwhelmed, maybe you even take your inhale with your tongue curled. So apparently it's a genetic thing and I can't do it. So I apologize that I can't demonstrate. But you know how people can curl the edges of their tongue up and make this like little U shape? If that's you, that's a really quick and easy way to breathe. That's going to cool down the body. So inhaling through that curled tongue, speaking to yourself, I receive peace. You can close the mouth, exhale out of the nose. I release striving. Really quick and easy way to turn the nervous system around when you might need it. All right, answer number 3, flow. So if you got into this place from having a rhythm that didn't make sense, having the right flow is how we get back to it. Yay, Carol can hear us now. Woohoo! Welcome. You'll just have to go back and listen to the beginning, but glad you're here now. So, if we need to find a rhythm that is sustainable, how do we steward this fire without letting it burn us up and everything around it? Some easy ways I say to start doing this. The 80-20 rule. This is one of my favorite things. If you're here, you're good at getting stuff done. You're really good at getting stuff done. We just have to make sure we're spending our time getting the right stuff done. It's compelling to want to be busy. It is compelling to want to fill the schedule because that makes you feel a certain type of way. If you feel like you're busy, then you say, oh, then I can feel good about myself. That's self-worth tied to productivity again. Maybe you keep busy to avoid feeling some negative feelings. That can happen too. So the 80-20 rule, the way this works, is basically there's a principle that says 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your actions. 20% of your results are coming from the other 80% of your actions. So basically, we spend a lot of time doing the wrong thing. We spend a lot of time doing the things that aren't actually moving us to our goals and aren't actually helpful just in the name of busy. So if you look at your schedule and with just brutal honesty say, how do I cut out the stuff that's not getting me 80% of my results? How do I cut out the stuff that's not helping? It can be very eye-opening. And you, once again, have to be brutally honest because your brain's going to come up with all these justifications of why this should stay and why that should stay and why this should stay. But just like really give that exercise a chance and see where it brings you. Other ways to keep you in a good rhythm, keep this fire healthy and not let it be overwhelming. Bed before 10 p.m., especially avoiding screens before bed. So remember we talked about earlier, for fiery folks, the eyes are particularly susceptible to too much stimulation. If you're one that likes to just really, really push your body and you're in a season of feeling like the fire's got you too hot, let your exercise be easy. This is one where the answer is just back off a little bit. Walking, swimming, Tai Chi, restorative yoga. You don't have to be going to a CrossFit class every single day. You don't have to be running a marathon every weekend. There's something of the law of diminishing returns. There's a point where which you do more work and you don't get more reward for it. So if your body is struggling resting, can your exercise look a little easier? See what that feels like. Self-care you actually like. Hey, if you like reading a novel and taking a bubble bath, I do. That's amazing. Do it. If you don't like it, don't feel like you have to. Don't feel like you should. Don't force yourself into a box that isn't yours to inhabit. Self-care looks different for everybody, but start trying to actually identify what are the not work-related things that I enjoy doing. What doesn't have a goal? What doesn't feel productive? What might even feel frivolous? Laughter, playful, creativity, things that might feel like a waste of time to this super productive type personality. Spend a little time there and see what happens. So, what happens when we do all this well? What happens when we are a good steward of our fire? What happens when we can use our spark for good, but also know how to take care of ourselves and not go to that burnout place? We feel clear and peace and serene, great sleep, great digestion. You feel connected to God. You feel led by God, not frantically searching and trying to earn approval and love. You have rhythm to your days. You have rhythm to this rest, work, rest cycle instead of just all out chaos. Feel rooted and grounded and capable. And that is what I want for you. That is what I want for everyone. This is why I do the work that I do to help people get here. But I've worked with enough clients now. I know exactly what you're going to do and how it's going to go wrong. And I say that so lovingly. I'm not here to make you bristly. I'm not here to call you out. I'm just here to save you the trouble. Because if you're here and you are a determined, fire-hearted person, you want results, you want answers, and you want to know how to get there. So I'm just saving you the mucky gooky that a lot of other folks have experienced so you can get to feeling all of these amazing things. So where these fire-hearted people go wrong is they say, okay, you just gave me a lot of actionable stuff in this workshop. I'm going to go do it all tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow. And I'm going to be perfect at it starting tomorrow. And you're going to try and overhaul your entire life immediately and be amazing at it. And if you are not perfect, and if you can't do 100% of the things, which, spoiler alert, that is just reality, then you're just going to be like, oh, I can't do this. I give up. Maybe there's some like all or nothing thinking. You're just going to fall off the wagon, never to try and jump back on again. And I don't want that for you. So there is another way. How do I know? Because I have been you and I've gone down all the wrong paths of trying to be perfect and do it all. And I've coached a bunch of people now like us. And what I have discovered is what you need instead of being perfect immediately tomorrow, overwhelming myself with all the things I have to do, is three easy things. You need community, consistency, and accountability. So I have worked with one-on-one clients for 2 years now, and I find that folks that work with me one-on-one need more repetitions. That we would have 4, 5, maybe even 6 sessions together, but the stuff I was telling them was very new, and they needed to hear it more than once. They needed to hear it more than just our appointments that maybe were a month apart for it to really stick. The folks that did the cleanse with me, we did this beautiful 3-week sprint, but they needed accountability to keep those good habits after that sprint was over and make these long-term lifestyle changes. So they needed all that goodness to not just fall off afterwards. And then I have a monthly membership, and those folks needed community. Feeling like you have to do it all on your own does not work. I know personally some folks signed up for this call that if you have people in your life that are not on board with your healthy lifestyle choices, it's really hard to be the one person steering the ship. You have to have people around you that support you, that encourage you, that are working on the same thing as you. Because the group builds momentum as a group. And inevitably, when one person falls behind, the momentum of the group just pulls them right along. Then they start pulling the group. And then when someone else inevitably falls behind, the rest of the group pulls them along. You don't have to do it all by yourself. You're good at that. You're used to that. That might have worked for you up until this point. But to change diet, lifestyle, self-care, stress management, these are big picture things that are not going to change overnight. So, what I have created to solve these problems and to help faith fueled and fire hearted folks really be good stewards of that spark is Sacred Seasons. So, this is a year-long course. It checks all those boxes of consistency because we're going to have a 12-week curriculum that's repeated 4 times a year. The 10 essential habits of living a healthy life. We're going to do it spring focused, summer focused, fall focused, winter focused. You're going to do it within community. So we're going to meet online weekly. There's going to be a forum online to stay connected in between the live coaching calls. And this is how you get held to really high standards. This is where folks remind you of who you are, of what you're capable of. And this is where, sorry, and this is where that power of the community grows and draws you along. And each time that you do it, you get to go a layer deeper. So, folks that this is their third time around, they get to help the folks that this is their first time around. And each time, this is sinking deeper and deeper into your neurobiology. So, these neural pathways are going to become well worn trails that your body and brain are so used to because you need to hear it again and again. You need to get practice doing it again and again for all this stuff to really stick. So, the 4 pillars that make up Sacred Seasons are holistic health, rhythms, fitness, and faith. And you really got a taste of that in this workshop today. I really wanted it to be a good representation of what the course will be like. So, from the holistic health side of things, diet, lifestyle, maybe some herbal support, self care. I've recently partnered with a really awesome company that does non invasive, so saliva and urine tests to test neurotransmitters. So, that's like cortisol, dopamine, adrenals, epinephrine, all the kind of chemicals in your head that can affect mood, fatigue, motivation, all that sort of stuff. And I think that'll be a really, really great tool for folks that have been looking at burnout, teetering on burnout, or just when you have this drive and you have this fire and you're always doing, it can be hard to step back and say, oh, maybe I'm not doing as great as I thought I was. The rhythms part will be really important because as we talked about for solutions, there has to be this ability to go from work to rest, to work to rest. Rhythms is also how you make these habits doable. So you're not just changing diet and lifestyle on willpower and motivation. Those things wax and wane. We are only human. You have to put in place good systems that support the habits that you want. So that's where the rhythm comes in. Fitness, because it's a passion of mine, I think it's a great stress reliever. And I think folks that have more of this fiery tendency, when they unlock it, they really love to move their bodies. So finding a way that helps them feel powerful and capable without overdoing it in a way that's sustainable for bone health, muscle health. We're learning that those things are tied to how our brain ages. Super cool. And faith, which is also really exciting to incorporate because you can't heal on your own. Yes, we need a community of humans with us, but If you're not looking up to something bigger than you, how is that going to work? So if you remember what we talked about earlier, like trading some of this grit and self-improvement and willpower for things like surrender and grace and stewarding the beautiful gifts that God has given you, this is where it all feels easy and doable. And easy might be a word that you have a very strange relationship with. I know I did when I started on this healing journey. But trust me, you can be productive and you can be high powered and you can use your fire for good and still experience ease. And that doesn't mean you're not doing enough. And that doesn't mean any sort of story that your brain wants to come up with about you. But it truly is the missing piece. And I don't want it to be something that we don't talk about. I think it has to be faith forward and think it has to be front and center because it should be front and center of our lives. And so it only makes sense that we ask God to go along with us on this healing journey. So if you are experiencing a ton of those symptoms that we talked about in the beginning, the acid reflux, the indigestion, the migraines, the skin stuff, maybe it's a little more mental for you, the workaholic, hyper competitive, can't turn off that work mode. Maybe you're in burnout right now. Maybe you're looking to prevent burnout. Sacred Seasons is the container where you can come out feeling, here is our list, clear, peaceful, serene, better sleep, better digestion. There's rhythm and routine, not chaos and franticness and busyness and rushing. To feel rooted, grounded, and capable. That's like the beautiful gem underneath this fire-hearted person is their ability to feel confident and capable in a really like healthy way. So, if this is you, I want to talk. This is going to be a group container, but because we're going to be here working for a year and holding ourselves to really high standards, it's not going to be for everybody. And so we definitely need to have a conversation and see, is this a good fit for you? Are you in a place where you can dedicate the time and effort to really prioritize this path? And if so, I would love to see you in it. And I'd love to build just a beautiful, wonderful community of faith fueled and fire hearted folks because, yeah, I think there's a real need and want. And this is like a yearning from my spirit for a really long time. And I know that I can't be the only one. So, yeah, I would love to chat with you. This is a QR code to apply for a clarity call. So there's just a short little questionnaire, a few questions just so I can get a better idea of where you're at, what you're looking for, how you might benefit from this. And then we'll hop on a video call for 30 minutes, talk through more in depth what the program looks like and answer any questions. And just, yeah, come to a mutual agreement of if it makes sense and is a good fit. You can also learn more about the course on my website. So that's this link here, mokshayogawellness.com/sacred seasons. And that has all the information of the structure, what's included in the course, all that good stuff. Just basic FAQ can be answered there. So I am starting the next cohort December 7th. So if this is of interest to you, we got to get the ball rolling. So get on my schedule in the next 10 days, 2 weeks, and we will get you in there if that is where God is leading you and you are meant to be. I would love to be a steward of that connection, but it's not a thing you can wait around on. So enrollment will open quarterly. So after December, the next one would be around March 1st that we would open the doors again. So I will open the floor up now for any questions. Yeah, I did that with time to spare. Yes, exciting. Efficiency. Yeah, put it in the chat or go ahead and unmute if you'd like, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the workshop or about Sacred Seasons. And I will make sure that folks who are listening to the recording get access to this Q&A as well. Cool. I just wowed you guys. No, I've learned you gotta like wait an extra minute. You gotta give it a second longer. Sometimes the introverts are afraid to come forth and ask their questions. So I'm gonna let it awkwardly linger for a minute. Thanks for the claps, Kayla. Okay. Well, my email address is here as well. If there's something you want to talk about offline, please shoot me an email, get in touch. I would happily answer any questions that you might have. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and stop the recording. Thank you all so much for showing up this evening. It was a joy to chat with you, Carol. I'm glad we got your audio working, and I'll send the recording so you can go back and listen to the beginning pieces. But y'all have a wonderful evening. Love you all. Blessings. And I'll talk to you soon.